Hi guys, my name is Nihit and in this video we are gonna analyze that is Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, really a Western puppet or not? And this question becomes very important because the very reason for which the Russian Federation invaded the Ukrainians was because they believed that the Ukrainian president was a Western toy and his ideas aligned with that of the West regarding the expansion of the NATO in the eastern borders of the Russian Federation. And to be very precise, it wasn't a Russian invasion on Ukraine, but I would rather use the word Putin's invasion on Ukraine, because only Putin in the whole Russian Federation is very much convinced that Ukraine still belongs to the Russian Federation, and I feel he's not yet over with his pre-Soviet ideology. So, anyways, let's analyze that is Zelensky really a Western puppet or not. So recently, in one of his interviews, a very senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense of United States stated that he feels that the Ukrainian president is no more than an American puppet, and he is putting a huge number of Ukrainian population at unnecessary risk. He added that Zelensky would have easily avoided the conflict if he had a neutral stance over his foreign policies. And he says that he sees nothing heroic in the leadership of Vladimir Zelensky, as he's putting the Ukrainian population at great risks. Apart from these statements by the senior American officials, another thing that makes Zelensky's role very suspicious is the massive amount of support that Zelensky garners from the Ukrainian oligarchs. In Eastern Europe, oligarchs means very influential businessmen. So basically, Zelensky garners a huge support from the Ukrainian oligarchs who have their businesses expanded in the West and in the US. His whole election campaign was supported by one such Ukrainian oligarch whose name was Igor Kolomoisky. He supported Zelensky to such an extent that Zelensky at several instances used Igor's cars and bodyguards. Some claim that Zelensky, being a Jewish leader, is hugely supported by the Israeli government and is virtually controlled by them. Igor Kolomoisky, the Ukrainian businessman who supported Zelensky the most, is also Jewish and holds Israeli nationality. No wonder why Ukraine was one of those few nations which came to the Israeli support in the recent Gaza conflict, as Zelensky called Israel a victim of radicalization and terrorism. From all this, a question arises: what Zelensky gets in return for these Western favoring policies? The recent Pandora paper leaks answered this question. The leaks claimed that Zelensky and his inner circle of friends had their own set of offshore companies. They used these secret companies to hide their wealth overseas. And most of the wealth in Zelensky case was properties in the prime locations of cities like London, Paris and other American cities. So does all these accusations makes Zelensky a puppet of the West? Or can all this justify the Russian invasion of Ukraine? In my opinion, the answer to this question is a big no. Because there is a huge difference between being corrupt and being a puppet. In most democracies, leaders are supported by influential businessmen and foreign nationals. It's an age-old trend, but that does not make any nation a puppet. And Ukraine, being a young democracy, is no exception to this age-old trend. Secondly, we should actually know the difference between an autonomous state and a puppet state. Belarus can be called as a puppet of Russian Federation, or North Korea can be called as a puppet of China, because they don't have a foreign policy of their own. Their foreign policies do not reflect the mindset of their citizens. But this is not in the case of Ukraine. Zelensky's West favoring policies actually align with the mindset of most Ukrainian people. Zelensky's stubbornness on joining NATO might have invited the Russian aggression, but it was very much favored by the Ukrainian people. Zelensky's decision to join NATO cannot be called as a part of his Western favoring policies, but rather is an outcome of sheer Ukrainian nationalism. Till the time Zelensky's decision reflect the consensus of the normal Ukrainian citizens, we cannot call Ukraine to be a puppet state or Zelensky to be a puppet leader. That's it for this video, guys. If you genuinely enjoyed the video, then do consider liking it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who are interested in videos like these. Bye.